What is the stupidest reason you went to hospital? When I was 8, I was bored, so I got a bottle of Gatorade from my pantry and grabbed a kitchen knife, then proceeded to stab it over the sink to see how easily the knife would go through the thicker plastic of the bottle. Almost lost my thumb. My boyfriend almost severed his finger around the same age. Don't know what he was doing with a knife. Every time I had trusted him to use a knife, he injured himself. He's no longer trusted. Are you dating an 8-year-old? When my brother was in 8th grade, he tried to open a plastic bag of pancake mix with a huge knife and cut his finger. He had to get surgery. When I was 18, I attempted to cut the cord on an old set of blinds with a newly sharpened knife. The cord got caught on a notch in the base of the blade and rubber banded the blade forward, taking off the tip of my thumb. It grew back, but for the longest time I had no fingerprint on that thumb. It grew back. What are you, a starfish? I have a massive scar on my pointer finger from where I tried opening a glass soda bottle with a certain part of a can opener. I couldn't find anything else to pry the cap off with, and it shattered, slicing off a chunk of skin and muscle to where I could see the bone. Just a tiny little bit of skin kept it intact. Like 6 hours later, they stitched it together in the ER. No permanent damage besides the massive scar that's there now. My partner got a new knife from his dad, some sort of fish boning knife that was super sharp. He decided to grab the dish soap bottle and stab it to test it out, and the blade went all the way through and right into his hand, severing a tendon. He was 28 at the time, lol. Hiccups that lasted 24 hours, stopped right when the doctor stepped in the room. LOL. I've seen this a lot. Had a guy last Monday. Intractable hiccups. Fun note, we use Thorazine to treat it, as in the antipsychotic. This happened to my father 60-some years ago. Apparently the Thorazine hit him pretty hard, and when he called my mother from the hospital, she couldn't understand a word he said, and the doctor had to get on the phone and explain what was going on. Ma'am, this is the hospital. Your husband had hiccups, so we treated him for a psychotic episode. He's a bit one flew over the cuckoo's nest up in here at the moment, but the hiccups are gone. The easiest way I found out to get rid of hiccups is eat a spoonful of peanut butter. Don't chew it though, you got to smash it with your tongue and the roof of your mouth. For whatever reason, it does make a difference. I've had a 100% success rate. My grandmother taught me this. I was told a spoonful of sugar was an instant hiccups cure, though gulping a glass of water usually works. A glass of water works for me only if I drink it upside down. Have been doing that for over 20 years, and it always works. You just sip it, not down it. What do you mean by upside down? I never understood this. Like you bend over? Just have someone else hold the glass and tip it for you to drink. When I see somebody with hiccups, I get a glass of water and tell them we'll have it fixed in no time. As I approach, I assure them that I'm not going to drown them. Touch the glass to their lips and tilt to just give them a sip. Hiccups stop. Every time. But are they bending over? No, I think they're laying on their backs. Tip your head right back and slowly sip out of a drink bottle. My husband went because he was in extreme pain and thought he was having a heart attack. Turns out it was wind. He just needed a good fart. LOL, I almost had my fiancé take me to the ER because I had severe pain in my lower back/side. I was almost in tears, like okay great, my kidneys or liver are failing. Then I farted. A lot. Suddenly felt much better. I went to the ER today BC. I had the same pain off and on for a few days. Turned out to be a UTI that was progressing to the kidneys. Wish I coulda just farted, lol. I took my 1-week-old son to urgent care because he had abdominal pain for hours and hours. He cried in the waiting room for a couple more hours, then farted 3 times and immediately fell asleep. They called us in about 10 minutes after that. The doctor said, as long as you guys are here, let's see how he's doing, and gave him the standard well baby check. I thought that was nice. Something similar happened to me, lol. When I was a little kid, I had some really nasty abdominal pain. My maternal uncle had appendicitis around the same age, so my mom was scared that it was the same thing. After hours of appointments and switching clinics/hospitals for different tests, and even an ultrasound, it was just gas. Let's just say the Singapore healthcare system isn't very forgiving financially speaking, so even though it wasn't an issue, I still feel bad to this day. I told my boss, a father of 2 little girls, about that hospital trip, and he said, oh yeah, if a kid's belly is hurting, just fold them in half, they fart, and that's it. Gonna start practicing child origami for when I become a dad. When I was a kid, I didn't like pooping because I never felt like I was clean enough after wiping my butt. Not sure why really, I wasn't OCD or anything, but I didn't like it, so I decided to stop pooping. Whenever I had to poop, I'd just hold it or go out and play, and eventually the urge would go away. Well, I woke up in the middle of the night, one night, and I literally couldn't breathe. I ran into my parents' room and woke them up, just gasping for air until I passed out. They rushed me to the hospital and I started being able to breathe again on the ride there. They did some blood work and an x-ray and saw in the x-ray that my colon was so backed up with poo that the poo was blocking my lungs, especially after laying in my bed sleeping for a few hours, which is why I woke up and couldn't breathe. My poo-impacted colon was basically pushing against my lungs, so I couldn't inflate them when I tried to breathe in. They gave me some X-Lax and had to bring in a stool sample for the next couple months, I guess for some sort of testing, but never had a problem after that. I just learned that the poo has to go somewhere, so I better get used to pooping. Waking up and not being able to breathe was one of the scariest things I've been through. Dude. Yeah, I'm not proud of that one. To be fair, child, you wasn't wrong. Adult, you can now just buy a bidet. Highly recommend the Tushy with warming option. My girlfriend laughed at me for installing it and doubted it when she bought a case of toilet paper from Costco. We barely went through half the case during quarantine, and we probably gave away most of those rolls to our apartment building. I've always wondered what would happen if we stopped pooping. Thank you for trying it out and sharing so we don't have to. Science thanks you. No joke, but my ex's aunt literally died from some sort of intestinal blockage. If the waste doesn't have anywhere to go, it can present as it did with Op here, or can actually poison your blood and kill you that way. It sounds pretty painful either way. Sorry in advance, this is going to be TMI and gross. I've had a great aunt pass away from this too. They never could go to the bathroom and hated going to the doctor, so never went to find out what the problem was. Ended up passing away from complications due to the blockage. When they autopsied them, they found 40 pounds of excrement so lodged and backed up it was extremely hardened. Story always terrorized me as a child. Helped me learn it's not good to hold it in though. But cheek injuries caused by a door. I hate touching doorknobs with my hands and always use my forearm to rub against the doorknob in a downward motion using friction to turn the knob. Was joking around with my GF saying I can open a door with my butt cheek exactly like how I use my forearm. Jumped at the door but first, and the little metal thing that guides the door cut my butt cheek. I think they call it strike plate or latch strike. The cut wasn't a clean cut because the thing wasn't that sharp. 30+ stitches. After that she had to stand behind me holding a bowl to cover my wound every time I take a shower so it doesn't get wet, and we live in a hot country so she has to do that twice a day for like a month. This was a fantastic read. Girlfriend of the year. I can only hope my partner would provide the butt bowl for my showers if it ever came to this. I was a house party, all the bathrooms were full. Went outside, decided I should crawl under the porch to pee. Everything went well until I tripped on the way out and rolled my ankle. Shrugged it off, limped back upstairs, and someone said, "Your ankle is broken." Sure enough, bones sticking out. DD took me to the hospital and got me ice cream on the way home. I miss you, Kyle. You're the best. Bones sticking out. Jazz music stops. Rattle 'em boys. Skeleton jazz music starts. Bones sticking out. Bro. I deliberately sprained my ankle last year for the first time in my life. Grade 2 sprain. I was wearing brand new platform Doc Martens I'd barely broken in. Tipsy and walking back to the bar, wanted to demonstrate to my new friend my real height. Without the platforms, I'm very small. I casually bent my ankle to the side as if I was wearing sneakers or short heels. Lost my balance next to the curb, heard 3 crunch, pop, snap sounds, and I was down for the count. Next morning my ankle was a grapefruit, but had 0 first aid gear on hand. Though the hospital was a mere 5 minutes walk, I couldn't even stand on my own, and my housemates weren't home to assist. As I sat there contemplating WTF to do, I shamefully called an ambulance, explaining that this was in no way an emergency, but I was at a complete loss on where to go from here. Halfway through my call, my housemate finally got home, so I was able to call an Uber and get her to help me downstairs. X-rays came back clear, but that buggered ankle took almost a whole year to fully heal and winked at my whole left leg and back with secondary issues too. Was so mad about it. Such a stupid injury, and up until then I had prided myself on my seemingly lifelong invincible ankles. I feel this. I thought my bones were unbreakable because all of the sports injuries I've come out of bruised or concussed at worst my entire life. Then I broke my toe by stubbing it. Christmas Day, I dislocated my knee attempting to kick my brother during a sparring match. Needless to say, my martial arts career was over. I broke my little toe while on vacation as a child trying to kick my sister. She moved away and I kicked the washing machine. In a 15-minute break between classes in 7th grade, I played soccer and accidentally kicked a kid so hard I broke my own toe. It hurt like ass, so when the pain didn't go away, I asked my English teacher about 20 minutes later if I could go to the school nurse and cool my foot. She said no, since if it really is broken then cooling wouldn't help anyway. Hours later, after huddling home, I told my dad that I think my toe is broken and if he can get me to the doctor. He said no, since if it's actually broken there's nothing the doctor would do anyway. In my dad's defense, that is somewhat true, since the doctor wouldn't put a cast around my toe or whatever. But we don't live in some poor country. We could have gone to the doctor in a 3-minute car ride and I could have gotten crutches for absolutely free. Instead, I couldn't walk on that foot for 2 weeks, and then it just sometimes hurt for a few more weeks, and now it's fine again. Sorry for typing all this out now. Just remembered it when I read your comment and didn't think it'd be this long. I got my Diva cup stuck. Woke up in the morning to change my tampon, but realized I can't find the string. Panicked, told my BF to check too. Rushed to ER, paid $500 for the doc to scavenge around, only to tell me there's nothing in. After a few questions, the night before came rushing back to me. I drank a little, way too much to remember that I'd taken it out before and slept without one. Never been more embarrassed in my life. Okay, I did the same except I just dozed off for a nap, woke up and couldn't find the tampon string and panicked. Went to the ER, during the height of COVID, April 2020, doctor couldn't find anything and deduced I pooped it out before my nap. Pretty sure you were putting it in the wrong spot if you pooped it out. No, like it came out when I was pooping. I got kicked in the shin by a robot. We need more info. I was building a self-balancing robot that had a pretty sizable battery pack, so it was fairly heavy, maybe 25 pounds. I didn't realize how poorly I'd calibrated the IMU when I started it up. It immediately zipped forward and then went into a rapid death spiral, moving pretty quickly. I tried to step in and pick it up to get it back under control when it rammed directly into my shin hard enough to break the skin, which required 7 to 8 stitches to close back up. I probably could have been fine to just bandage it up on my own, but I did the math on the last time I'd had a tetanus shot and decided I should get proper medical care. You realize that all you're doing is teaching the robot how to be a better shin kicker, and in a few generations they will overwhelm us with their shin kicking skills. TBH, there's not much room for improvement. This was, by a broad margin, the most exquisitely my shin has ever been kicked. My wiener turned puffy and red for seemingly no reason. Had to fly to a wedding next morning and freaked out. Asked my GF to drive me to hospital. Nurse asked me if I had been eating spicy foods. Yes, I had been eating hot wings, and I must have held my wiener to urinate prior to washing my hands. Nurse gave me a Benadryl and told me to chill. I later requested the nurse's notes for my records. They're hilarious. A wise man once said, if you go touching your jalapenos, and then go touching your jalapenos, it's not gonna kill you or nuttin', but it's gonna mess your day up for sure. Please like and subscribe for more daily content.